A lot of people, they reduce this relationship thing down to rights. Yeah. And this is what I have to do because this is what Allah wants me to do, and so on and so forth. And if someone has not been good to them, then they basically believe, therefore, that they should not have to fulfill those rights. And Islam doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. Okay? And you often hear, not often, almost exclusively hear this kind of excuse from people who don't want to be good to their parents, or can't find the ability to forgive their brother or their sister, or don't want to service their in-laws because, you know, they're not my parents and I can't, and they hate me and I hate them, and whatever it is. Okay? But let's just focus on direct family because it doesn't make sense with the in-laws at this point. But the brother, the sister, the father, the grandfather, the son, okay, whatever it is. And they recognize it's going to be really, really difficult because of real abuse, by the way. I'm talking genuine oppression, genuine physical beatings that went way beyond the pale, and a person got psychologically scarred and physically scarred for life as a result. And they say, I will never ever forgive this person. And how dare you say to me that I have to go there and still, show my love and respect and whatever, whatnot. And I am saying that, by the way. I genuinely don't care for these people's complaint. I care for their condition, but I don't care for their complaint, because everybody has a challenge. Everybody has a problem, and they've all got to deal with it in a way that they can. And I am not worried, because if they have a problem that stops them going from beyond their limits and they know they've reached their limits, then Allah is happy with them. And I'm happy with them. As a teacher who's encouraging people, I am. But what I will not accept is hypocrisy. What I will not accept is people lying and playing that card and saying that, how can you possibly say this is Islam that encourages me, a person who's been abused or in a difficult situation, or has no legal right to look after a person, because they abandoned me. Okay, so the reason this came to my mind is because obviously a stepfather is there because maybe the other father has either passed away or maybe he abandoned them. Let's say that before even birth he went, which is shocking behavior, shameful. Never sent no child custody, never said salam in 20 years, never sent nothing. Clearly is not interested. And and this person comes to me and says, Shaykh, what shall I do? I say, you need to find that person and you need to try and make contact, and you need to show from your side that whatever happened, I forgive it anyway. Right? And you battle against all of the reason in your mind that's telling you no. But you battle, but you go and try and do that. And they say to me, how dare you tell me to do that? Do you know how difficult it was for me and my mum? Do you know what happened? Do you know what happened? Do you know what happened? And if I just turn and flip the script and I say that if you had now a father who was disabled or who was XYZ and you were the dominant person, and you stole from them, and you abused them, and you hit them, and you, however unlikely this may come out, but let's flip it completely, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on, until the father basically is on the verge of completely giving up, and he turns around and he puts a petition to the court and says, I disown my son. Will that be Islamically valid? Answer is no. This person then turns around and he says, well, okay, then I couldn't disown him, but I swear I'm not going to give him anything in my inheritance. And he writes a big notice and he says, my son, who, by the way, there's no daughters and there's no one else. Let's say that there's no wife either. My son will not receive anything from this inheritance. The judge will give not just the son the inheritance, but every single penny that he has, because that is his legal right. And his legal right is not contingent on the behavior that he expresses towards you. His behavior, his horrific behavior, his haram behavior is his mega problem. He's going to burn, he's going to go to hell. We get that. Yeah? But it doesn't disqualify him from his legal right. Just as the same, that your parents' horrible treatment of you as a child, as an abuse, as an X, as a Y, whatever it is, it does not disqualify them from their legal right for you to treat them as best as possible. And that's where we get this idea that birrul walidain, and indeed silatul rahim, maintaining all of the relationships that we have, is not contingent on their being good to you. It's not contingent on them being nice to you. It's an individual separate obligation. It's something that has to be done. If they are nice to you, it makes it easier. And guess what? Surprise, surprise, you're not going to get as much reward for that act because it's easier. And the more they hate you, the more problem they make for you, then the more the reward. And you still have to carry on and do as much as you possibly can. And that's the key thing. It's not contingent upon getting something back. And that's where the Prophet ﷺ hadith comes to play. that silatul rahim is not based upon reciprocation. You have to wait for the good behavior to be reciprocated, and you've got now your reason to, we've got a relationship here. This is worth it now. I'm giving something, getting something back, and now I'm going to do it. That's the easiest thing in the world. Everybody's waiting for reciprocation, and it would be an absolute animal. It would not be. It would be the lowest of the lowest qualities if we said to people, only be nice to people if they are nice to you. If they are nice to you, or only be good to people who are good to you. That's not challenging society. That's not making society better. Someone has to go and take one for the team, or take one for the community, or take one for the society, or take one for the human race. You see, throughout history, the best people are those who do something when they shouldn't have to, when all sense says they weren't able to, when they're having to make a sacrifice above and beyond. And so, when you appreciate this principle that I'm talking about, then you'll realize that it answers a lot of questions. That the woman who's in the house of so-and-so, looking after in-laws, it's not a legal right, but it's a done thing. When you look at your stepfather, for example, it's not a legal right, but it's the done thing. It's impossible to think of anything else. When you are talking about the biological father now that's been replaced, who has never ever reached out or said anything, now you realize why you still need to go and try and meet and as much as possibly can.